Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Low Code Campfire for Friday, October 25th, 2024. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some upcoming features of workflows in Plantain App with our CEO, Bogdan Lutescu. And then we'll also, and if we have time, take a look at the versioning story that we covered earlier in the week in the Low Code Cafe. Low Code Campfire occurs on Fridays at 10 a.m. Central Time, and this is just a place where the community can gather and discuss ideas, come get help, and be there for each other. All of these sessions are recorded and posted on Plantain App's YouTube channel at youtube.com/plantainapp. You can subscribe to that by either going to the site or scanning this QR code here. And then go back and refer to the sessions for useful information that you remember hearing. The agenda today is the same as usual. We'll start with some introductions, and then we'll go around the campfire and do first call, and then we're going to take a look at the workflows and any other things we want to cover. You can submit questions ahead of time by scanning this QR code, and that'll take you to a form where you can make a suggestion or ask a question that you want covered in Campfire. So with that, I'll move on to the introductions. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope everybody is doing well. And good evening to Bogdan.
Where is everyone?
What's that?
I was asking, where is everyone?
I think the rest of us are. I'm in Eastern, but I think both of you are west of me, aren't you?
No, I'm in the East Coast.
Oh, you are? Okay.
North of New York.
I am west. I am right now. I'm in Galesburg, Illinois, Western Illinois.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Home
actually,
of Knox College. We are having a homecoming.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll go into the first call. Does Matt or Don, do either of you have anything you wanted to bring to the group today?
Matt, you got anything?
Actually, no, I don't. I'm empty, which is a good thing.
I could fill an hour and a half easily, sure. Because something just came up, and I'm hoping that there's a simple way of doing this, and if not, if you could point me to a way of doing this. But I have been telling you folks last few weeks at least about an app that I'm doing. And I've got an app developer that's we've used the Plantain App API capability, and the app developer comes into an EasyDNN database. Actually, I provide the access to the database to pull up events. And then the app developer is putting those events in an event list. And then when somebody registers for the event, there's certain attributes that we want to collect, like their name and email, and what entree they would like, because it's usually a dinner event, and a few other parameters that are dependent on the event. At any rate, the idea was that the app was going to go to SquareUp, get the money, and then come back to me with all of the data that I would just simply store. And so I thought that was going to be easy. And we got to SquareUp and we learned that it's actually a two-step process. The app does the asking of the credit card information by going to SquareUp, and then the person gives the credit card information, and then SquareUp gives what they call a nonce, an NONCE, ID token. And then it's my job now to go and get the money from SquareUp. So it's a second step, which I wasn't planning on, didn't understand that that's how it happened. I thought the app was doing it all. So now, instead of the app just sending me the information, the app is now sending me the nonce, and I have to go to Square, and then I have to come back and tell the app if it was good or not. So that's the very general background. The basic question is, Is there a square up interface that makes it trivial? Or if not, is there a server request process? And how would I go about being square up?
Yes, I suspect that you're going to use the server request action. I don't think, Bogdan, that we've ever done anything with Square Up, have we?
No, I'm not
Yeah,
aware of any integration.
yeah. But yeah, I think that at a high level, you're going to have to take that nonce and use it in a server request to Square, and that's how the information, and then the reply to the API request will be the information that you need. That's at a high level the way I think it's going to work. And you probably will have to take a look at their API documentation to understand exactly how you need to use the nonce. Have you worked with the nonce before?
No, first time.
I've worked with creating a nonce that's sent to as part of the API security, but I don't think I've been in a situation where I've had to use a nonce. But anyway, it's basically, you understand what the nonce is, right? It's basically the combination that my basic understanding is a combination of two unique values that are then encrypted, and so they're encrypted on one side and they have to be decrypted on the other side, and the values when they're decrypted need to match.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of the person information was sent via the Square AP SDK that's part of the app. And then the Square people give you the nonce, which is some kind of a code that uniquely identifies all of that information. And I just say, hey, we were just talking about this guy that just asked for to pay a bill. Here's the nonce, pay the bill. So I get that part. It's just the building of this the response that they want. I looked at their documentation. I was having some trouble with it. So then I just went over to ChatGPT, which we often do in this conversation. We have AI provided, and AI said you write some JavaScript, and in fact it said, oh yeah, you're using Planet App, great, just do it this way, and it said use JavaScript.
That's
So
fun.
apparently ChatGPT knows all about you, which is great.
Good. Yeah, so that's I don't know if you have any other suggestions, Bogdan, but I think basically it's going to be using the server request to make the server request action to make the request to Square.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
And
And
then
probably and then doing some and then with the response, you're going to have to do some probably parsing of their JSON. I suspect the response will be JSON, and you're going to have to, and we've talked a lot about parsing JSON over the past few weeks. So, yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
The JavaScript example had Node.js. It said, assuming that you have Node.js. And then it also said, assuming you have Express.js, and then if you have real SOAP. So I have no idea how to know what all of the libraries and options I have available to me, and I'm not sure where I go to find that out.
So I think and Bogdan, maybe you might have more to say about this, but I think that ChatGPT is making assumptions that you're making the server request at a code level, but you have this action that you can use. So what you actually implement might be different from that.
Got it. So I just build a JSON string to send to them, and I just go to the server request, send that string, and the server request sits and waits and does all of the smarts associating with waiting
Yeah.
from
And
the
you have to make sure
server.
that, like, when you're in the server request, that you're configuring all the other parts correctly. That you're doing the correct kind of, you're doing a post or a get, and make sure that you're including the headers that you need to and that sort of thing
Oh,
in the
okay.
server request. Yeah. So you make sure that
Got
so yeah, you'll have the JSON part, but you also need to look at the headers and make sure you're making the correct type of request in that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. And that's all in their documentation.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Matt has his hand up. So polite.
I'm being, I am for a change. So I just thought of something. I ran into a situation where I was using the email sync or trying to use the email sync. And I was trying to use it with Microsoft 365 email servers. To make a long story short, they've
everybody at
deprecated.
PlanetNet knows about your experience here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Dale was telling us all about it. Yep.
All right. So the question then becomes, does anybody have any suggested possible alternatives to that? I know Dale had sent me kind of a list of, he did a chat GPT lookup and sent me a list of things, one of which was the Microsoft Power Apps or whatever it's called. And I started to look into that, but I haven't really made any, had to set it aside, didn't make any more headway with it. Has anybody done that or can help me out? Guide me?
So are you talking about a different way of accessing the Microsoft email? Is that?
Yeah. Basically, when an email hits a specific mailbox, I want the server to respond, grab the email, and parse it out, put it into a table, and so on and so forth, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really explore any different options for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed Bogdan has his mic on mute, so I think that's my answer.
Yeah, I know that with Gmail, we've had some similar problems with what you're experiencing, but there's still a little bit of finagling you can do to make it work still.
Right.
But I think that security is a big concern, and things are always getting more secure. So it may end up being that we have to head in the direction of of doing something that's more secure than just the simple simple authentication.
Yeah,
basic authentication. Yeah.
Yep, understood. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Jim, I see you joined us. Make sure you know that we are.
I did join. Hello again.
Thanks. Yes, thanks for being here. Do you have anything you want to talk with us about?
No, I just came to contribute where I could.
Cool. Well, if there's nothing else, I guess we'll go on to our next topic, which is Bogdan. Bogdan, you're up.
Patrick.
I'll stop the share.
I just wanted to share a bit with you what's coming, and also a good time to get feedback. So you saw in 126 we have this new workflow builder, which looks like the old one in most of the places. But now in 127 we'll also do a lot of UX improvement. So let me see if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So is this bar going away? Or is it draggable? Oh, it's draggable. Nice. Okay. So I just wanted to show it to you, to show the new UX improvement that you did, and get your feedback. What do you think? How does it feel? What else do you feel could be an improvement? What annoys you most of the time? Those are the things we go after. And I'm not sure, Patrick, did the contracts ever make it to being discussed in Campfire?
I think we've talked about it briefly, but I don't think we've had a chance to really demo it, in a real way.
Sure. Not sure if they will work, but I will try to demo it anyways. So this is the development. Everything is still moving. We are maybe 2 months away from having a stable release. Hello, Ben. I see Ben joined us in the meantime.
Yep, hi Ben.
Guys, sorry I'm a little late. Got stuck in a
Cool. So this is the new workflow builder. A bit of work that we did to fix the buttons. You know, they were always disappearing and things like that, or going on 2 rows. Some things that you'll see here, the contracts, which maybe we'll cover after we look at the workflow. So basically, in terms of UI, we did a couple of changes. We introduced this setting screen, you know, so we had all those pop-ups that will pop up for you to specify a name and things like that. So to make it consistent with how API, how automation works, having a setting screen where all the other metadata will live. Things like the name, the description, of course, plenty of space now for the description, not a small text area. And the namespace we brought here as a setting, and we put this gear icon to get to that screen where you can create, manage, edit namespaces. So this is the first thing, and then moving a bit to the parameters. I think I'm not sure if the description made it to 126.
It did. Yep.
It did. Okay.
Mhm.
So we started adding more description fields everywhere in order to be able to document stuff. And this description would also go to the actions, to the workflow actions, and to the test window. I'll show you in a bit. And then if we go to the process, the other thing we did here, we moved we had all these buttons at the top, and we moved them on the bar. Still some alignments needed here, but like in API, in automation, they are all on a bar like this under the tabs. So we moved them here in order to clean up the UI, especially when you have longer names, then the UI would become very multi-line broken, things like that. Okay, so then maybe one last thing I will mention, and then we can discuss. So the other thing, you see, we changed this from save and test to just test, because one of the things that we added here, nice validation. Okay, so if I click test now, the system, the workflow saved the workflow automatically because it's a new workflow and I can test it. But now if I make a change and I click test again, it will detect that there was a change and it will ask me, do they want to save or just run previously, right? So you have the options, even if you change something, to test without saving it, or you can save and run on this step. So we introduced this layer of change detection, which also applies to, let's move this, to navigating away from the page. If you did any change, you are less likely to lose your work accidentally. Yeah. Okay. Let me get back to my workflow. That I created. So let's see, what do you think so far?
That's
I
good.
like it. Yeah, especially the length of the description and so on, the changes to the UI, very good.
I'm struggling with an idea of an example of why I would want to run the previous since I just made a change.
So for me, it will be a use case would be that I'll go to existing workflow. I change something and then I want to see how did it work. Oh, it worked like this. I will close it, save it, test it again. Oh, did the same thing. I'm fine. Right? That's how I would use it. For example.
Would the run previous let you recover something if you broke it?
Recover. So when you run previous, basically it doesn't save this new workflow. It runs whatever it was saved before. So in terms of recovering, there's nothing to recover. I mean, it runs the previous copy.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
One of the problems I've run into is I've gone into a workflow, made a change, went to test it, which saved it and overwrote the old change, and it broke it. And it's like, no, I want to bring it back.
I understand. Yeah. We don't have the versioning yet. Probably one of the next increments that we'll do, if you use the version control, will bring the previous versions that you committed, so you could restore to those versions. This is something that maybe we'll have in 128.
But if you are using version control now, you do have that possibility, but you have to go to your repository and actually get the file to import.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever use the run previous, but I like the idea of clicking over. Maybe I want to go look at a token and forget to save. So reminding me that I forgot to save is great.
Yeah, and that is definitely I think, Bogdan, that was our original story that we wanted there, is we wanted to make sure that people are always being reminded that they have unsaved work in place.
Okay, ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we also went, and you'll see these changes also in API in automation and the new workflow builder. We made some changes to the parameter because I think they became a mess over time in terms of formatting, spacing, very crowded. So we did a bit of cleanup in the way the parameters are displayed. We moved all the help icons on the right, so they no longer move, and that was a bit of annoying behavior when the label would become smaller and the help icon would become smaller. So now the help icons are always on the right. And then we made these labels not to become smaller, they are always visible. So making it cleaner. And also we added this highlighter, so you know what section you are editing. And then also on the parameters, we move the buttons to line up with the titles everywhere. Like if I'm adding headers, the button is always at the top. Let's see. Okay. And then same with changing a portal file. Again, the button is next to the label. The actions, the same thing. So it's always on the label, the button.
Yeah, that's nice. That's pretty clean.
I just noticed that Ben had his hand raised. I wanted to.
So I just had a quick question. It was something that popped in my head when you were showing the workflows and how you have the ability to detect if you made a change so you don't lose the changes. I've had a situation, I don't know if other people have, but let's say I'm designing an action or I'm modifying an action point. Let's put it that way. And for whatever reason, I get distracted. I come back to it later. I don't recall that I had it open already. And I open it in a new tab. So now I have two tabs with the same form in development mode. And by accident, I swapped between the two. So one of them has changes I just saved. The other one doesn't. And then I make changes in the second one and I save it and I wiped out the changes I made in the first one. Is there a way, or is there an idea, or maybe in the future, a possibility where the action form, when you go to save it, can detect if its code has been changed by another tab before it saves, to basically say, we've detected that this is no longer the same form as it was when I first opened. If you save right now, any of those changes are going to be lost.
Yeah, actually, we have a behavior like this, I think, in automation.
Right.
Where if you do that from two tabs, it will say, oh, somebody else modified this in the meantime. Do you want to overwrite it or refresh your screen? But it's only in automation, but that's something that over time we want to expand to all areas of the product. So, yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen the behavior in automation?
I have not, because I'm the only developer here, so I don't step on with other people. But
But
With
it-
automation, I haven't had that issue because usually I only go into automation with one tab, and I know I'm in there. But when it comes to action forms, like
Yeah.
I usually have a mess of tabs, and sometimes I accidentally open up the form 2 times,
Yeah, I've
and
been
then
there
I don't
too.
realize it, and then I'm like, I make a change, I save it, and I'm like, wait a minute, but I know I just modified and added this other thing. Where did it go? And then I realize I have 2 tabs open. I'm like, I just erased it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been there
it
also.
happened to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it happened to all of us.
I've been able to make the realization fast enough to go back and to the other tab with it still open and save it again.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes I've been lucky like that, but other
yeah,
times I already closed that tab.
you're right. Yeah.
And then I'm like, I have nothing to go back on. I'm like, oh, now I have to remember, like, what was it I did and rewrite it all over again.
Let's see, I save here. So now I want to save here. Ah, it didn't ask for.
Huh, I've had the experience before, so I'm not sure what the.
It's a different job. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it is.
They were both named test, so somebody else did the test as well. So let me find the right one. 99? No. Oh, this is 30. This is 32. Let me test 32 as well. 32. Save. And you see this one already asked me this other tab. It will, in this case, it was still me, so it doesn't matter if it's the same user or different user. It will say that this person modified the job to avoid conflicts. You can go to the new version, and of course, if I try to save, it will say, do you want to overwrite or not?
Very nice.
So yeah, we'll probably get this everywhere.
And likewise, if you try editing it again, just out of curiosity, I want to see
Edit it.
the job 32. Just try saving again or something. Just curious. Yep. See, it's telling you that I just modified the job, so it works.
Oh, you have your own user. Okay.
Yeah. I created my own user on this site.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Let me. This is my test input. Okay, so I'm going back to this test window. So what happened here? We added the help text here, so it's much easier to see what the parameters means, especially when they get more complex, more sophisticated.
And that help text appears in the actions that are created as well, which is the part that I really, really like. Is that when I go to add an execute workflow action, I have the information that I need for the.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And just so everybody's clear, that this is the new action interface. But when you add the action in a form or a listing or something like that as well, you also have the help input as text underneath the I think it's underneath the line, I think, is in the old actions, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I hadn't noticed those the new curvy lines before, Bogdan. That's kind of.
Yeah, so we also updated the underlying library.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which comes with some new things like also this highlighter. And yes, more.
And the lines are curving now.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's do a bit of working here. Let me maybe I'll add an action instead. Okay, so you all know this this pop-up that we added. You can put a condition. You don't have to type anymore on that arrow, the ugly text box that would appear over the arrow. But we also introduced the autocomplete here, right? So now it's easy to use. Like I had the test parameter, much easier not to have to copy paste or do spelling mistakes and then spend 10 minutes debugging what's wrong.
I'm gonna switch to the I'm gonna be one of the Campfire attendees right now, Bogdan. Does it if your input is connected to a entity, does it see the entity properties? I haven't had a chance to test that yet to see.
I would expect so, but let's test it out. I don't know what entities we have here.
I bet there's plenty of them.
Yeah, this is a QA system, so yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they mean, so I'll pick any of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's pick test 2. We'll call this test 2. Okay, so let's see. Test 2. No, it doesn't.
Okay. Well, that's a note we can make for an improvement.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so then maybe the final thing, should we go into the contracts a bit?
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, let me clean up everything here. So
I think we've talked about contracts some on this call. Can somebody confirm, or do any of you recall any of the discussion of contracts?
I don't
I've
recall.
heard it. Yeah, I heard it mentioned, but not really discussed in any.
Okay.
okay. So the idea is that as we are building more and more robust systems, bigger systems, there is a need for structure. If you're familiar with programming, in programming you have something called interfaces, where it's like a contract. You implement different classes, but they all respect a pattern, right? So for example, let's say you have a notification system, and then you have all these types of notifications, and maybe each type of notification has a workflow. What do you do nowadays? Maybe you build a workflow with many conditional branches where you say, if this type is this, do this. If this type is this, do this. So you end up with a lot of complexity to manage all the variations. So then that's the problem that the workflows are meant to solve. So basically, I would create a contract for me. Let's say notification handler, let's call it. And then I define some inputs. Let's say it receives a type. I don't have any, let's say, any types in here. I will just use text for now. And then maybe in the output, it should output a HTML code. I don't know, to send to somebody as a notification. If I go to workflows, notice this is not a workflow builder, so I don't have any logic here. This will just list all the workflows that use this contract, and I will show you that in a bit. Okay, so then I think that's all I need to do.
Did you save your output? The output still says 0. Yep, there we go.
Sorry. Okay, so now I saved it, and I have a contract. So now if I go and create a sorry, not a contract. I wanted to create a workflow. If I create a workflow that I would say this is, let's say the load this space notification. Notification. And then I will say this uses the contract that I just created, and unfortunately it's a lot of testing here. Notification handler. So now a couple of things happen, and I think I need to save for that to happen. Let's see what's going on in here. Okay, it just took a bit longer time, but yes. So basically now I have some inputs that I cannot change because all the workflows that I create with this contract needs to have the same input and outputs. Otherwise, they will not be usable in a generic manner. Right? And same with the outputs, they all are enforced. So I do need to output this parameter. Right? I can add more parameters. So for debugging, especially for testing, I can add parameters. But when I try to call a workflow just by knowing the contract, I will not have access to each workflow parameters, but I will have access to these parameters that are defined at the contract level. So just to wrap up this process, maybe let's just put let's create a variable for the HTML. It's running low on server X. Okay. Let's test. Element is not connected. Test. Okay. Run. Just returns. Oh, sorry. I have to put it here. Okay. So this will enforce me to output a parameter, but I have to, of course, to define it at the workflow level what that parameter has. Okay. So I don't use this for anything, so it doesn't matter what I put here. But as expected, I would get the message that I put there. Now it gets interesting when it gets to calling these workflows. Right. So let's say I have the notification engine where I don't want to create that if for each notification type. Right. So then what I would do is I would I would use a generic action. Let's say execute workflow. Execute workflow. Okay. And here. Oh, actually, I think the new action is not ready yet. Okay, but here basically I would be able to filter by a contract and give it a workflow GUID. So basically, if I were to store the workflow GUID, let's say in an entity or somewhere, I would execute the workflow dynamically, but I would still see the parameters that need to get passed in. So then the contract enforces for me that all workflows are having the same inputs and outputs, and then I can call those workflows dynamically using this execute workflow action without worrying that they might have different parameters for different names. The contracts takes care of that consistency. Hope I did a good job to explain
nice.
it.
That's really nice because I can't tell you how many times I've written stuff where it's a lot of conditions. It's just a bunch of actions, and it's like run it if the condition is this, if the condition is this, then run this one, and it just is this whole huge stack where I'm like, I wish I could just say, based off a name or something dynamically, where I could just have one action, just say run it based off of this tokenized value.
I can show you how we do this without contracts because there is a nice way to do it, but it's not enforced, and that's what I write at this pattern. So let me. So this is Bazinga, our AI platform, and here we have, for example, this is source types, meaning we get content from a website. Let me see. This is. Let me find a different one because I will show you some nice things that we are doing. Let's see which one is better formatted. Not this one. AI action. Yes, maybe this one. Although this doesn't have links, but anyways. So basically, we build an entity, and the entity has a text box that is the GUID of the workflow. So then, let's say these were the notification types, or like in your case, Ben, you have different elements that are the same thing. I would create a new action in this case, give it whatever parameters I wanted to store in the model. But then here I list all the workflows that I can select for that action. And I'll show you in a bit, this is just a select over the workflows table, right? So this way I'm able to create an entity that holds the metadata about each notification type and the associated workflow, and plus any metadata that I need to store about each notification type. Maybe I need to store some connections, maybe I need to store some formatting options, I don't know. So then using this pattern, basically what you can pass to all those workflows that derive from a contract is actually this object, this AI action in my case, the entity. So then you get all the metadata as well in the workflow. Right? So how we did this, and you notice that I didn't see a lot of workflows because basically, so I should start maybe with the form. Basically in the form where it says AI action is just a drop down where I select everything from plant and app workflows that live under a namespace. Basically, that's why I did. That's what you're seeing in that workflow. And I'm storing the GUID in the entity, so then I can use the execute workflow dynamically. And in the listing is the same thing. I think here we use a token just to not display the GUID, but instead display the nice formatted name. It's a token. So this pattern definitely, Ben, we can do it today with what's in there. Entity with a workflow and then run it dynamically, but of course it's not enforced, and that's where the contracts fill the gap. They enforce that all workflows follow the same pattern. Let's see. Tokens.
So the I was just checking to make sure. So the workflow data source is also introduced in 127, right?
The workflow data source, yes.
Yeah, that okay. I was checking.
Yeah.
We don't have that. Okay, I was making
Yeah,
sure. I thought.
Yeah. So basically making it easier not to have to do what I did here, the SQL, but
Yeah,
instead use the proper data source for the workflows.
Yeah, so in 127, we'll have a data source that you can choose here, which is a list of workflows.
Yeah.
That also ties in with contracts as well, like Bogdan was saying earlier.
Yeah. Let's see if there is a form where we can try this. Oh, workflow content. Yes. So this is the workflow contract source. And I think we have workflow and workflow contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, if you choose workflows, you can filter it by contract or by namespace. So then you have a dropdown that is filtered to only a subset of workflows.
Oh, Ben, you have your hand raised again. Or is it stayed that way?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So I have a side question that this kind of just brought up in my head. Is there any plan or possibility for a new action that mimics a switch or a case statement? Because there are situations where even this, while this is very helpful and dynamic and works in many cases, there, let's say, will be some situations where you have a form, you're submitting it, and depending on certain information, if this and this is true, then run these actions. Otherwise, if this and this is true, run these actions. Otherwise, and it could keep going that way. But right now, it's just a bunch of individual execute actions with conditionals. The problem with that is, at least from my perspective, when you're looking at it from executing, every single one of those conditions have to execute. Even though only one of them should be the one that runs, or God forbid, the way you've written it, you made a logic error and two of them accidentally run because it's testing each one. But if there was an action where we could mimic some way a case statement or a select statement, a switch statement rather, then as soon as one of those conditions hit, all of the other conditions are ignored. It just jumps out of the entire piece.
I don't think we have, but this is exactly what, let's see if we have conditionally. No, but this is exactly what the workflow does, right? So in workflow, when you create a conditional gateway, they are exclusive gateway, meaning the first condition that happens is executed. The system doesn't even look at the rest. So then if you find a way to pass your for model to a workflow, in workflow, it will be a lot more manageable to do these things.
I mean, I get it. It's just there are some times where I just really don't want to go so far as creating a separate workflow. I want to keep everything contained.
Yep.
Especially, you know, if it's something that I'm going to be sharing across multiple sites, copying it from site to site, or sharing it, you know, with the community or whatever. As soon as you start adding workflows, you're creating more complexity. And now it's not just the form I got to export, it's the form and the workflow and, you know, stuff like that. Where if we had a switch statement, you know, it at least gives the action stack some additional flexibility so that you can make something that's a little more self-contained and doesn't have to branch out.
Yeah. Let me take a look, because that thing that you see on the workflow, it's actually an action, right? I think we hide it. I'm not sure if you can get it to show if it will actually work. You know what I mean, Patrick?
I don't think so, no.
I'm just running wild here, but I'm curious myself.
That's why I was
yeah.
That's why I was
And
chuckling.
I know
This is fun.
someone in the past, and I think I have it somewhere, created a custom if-else action, but that only works on 2 different conditions. And it's a little quirky because the conditions themselves don't function just like regular plant and app action conditions do.
Mhm.
There's a little quirkiness to it. But
Mhm.
again, that only satisfies an if-else. I mean, in a
Mhm.
situation, like I said, when you have multiple possibilities, to have one action that you can dynamically add a new case statement,
Mhm.
and then each case statement has its own action stack, that would be really nice because it, like I said, it would just offer us that additional flexibility where we could be a little bit more self-contained within one module and not necessarily
Mhm.
have to spider out.
Yep. So I think this might work. I don't know how to test it quickly, but there is an action, and what you see on the workflow, the exclusive gateway, it's actually an action behind the scene, and you'll find this action in the initial common action config action. It's called execute conditionally, and I think it's by design hidden, not to show. So I think if we were to just delete these conditions, it might show under group flow.
But would it have the interface for adding actions? That's the
I'm not sure. Looking at this parameter, so it appears to have a grid, and the grid has 2 columns. One column is the condition, and the other column is a list of actions. So yes, it
Okay.
could have the UI for it.
Does sound like it, yeah.
So maybe somebody that I don't have access to any instance right now to change the files on disk, but we can take it as a challenge for next time, or if somebody wants to try it out in the meantime, I think that's. I think that might do what you need, Ben, already.
I'll add it to the feature request list.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I think, sorry, Patrick, I took a bit too long time.
That's okay. It was fun.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll
go ahead.
show this as the last thing. So,
Yeah.
not sure how many of you are using AI already, but this is like a very simple pattern to implement. We are doing it now for a demo, and I thought, let me share this with you. So basically, I have some fake passports, test passports. Now I upload them to a form, and then the magic happens. The AI extracts all the information and then puts it in the form.
Cool stuff.
That's really nice. Does it work with PDFs or just images?
I think it depends on with what model. Some models know to open documents, some AI models. So could work with PDFs as well. Or if not, just converting that PDF to an image on the backend could be a way to do it. And then give the image to AI.
This is something through your paid Bazinga system, right?
Yeah, we are doing it through Bazinga, yes, in this case.
I was just thinking, I'm like, I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to swing the people here to agree to that, but the idea is really nice because we have a system where basically people are uploading PDF forms that we generate, and they make selections and fill out that information. And right now, basically, they have to upload that form, and then someone has to read the form and then fill out all of the fields next to the form that I display on the screen that was uploaded.
Wow.
And if the system could at least attempt to read the data and pre-populate all of the fields, and then someone just has to go in and kind of verify that it came out correct, that would save so much time.
Yeah. I think that's quite easy to do for AI. So yeah, it does open a whole new world of possibilities where we need to work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is, I can think of all kinds of use cases for this kind of thing. Very cool. Anybody have any other thoughts?
Yeah, more of a question. So the Bazinga, like this demo you just showed here, currently the Bazinga is a separate product. Are you envisioning that a merge? Obviously, you've got forms and a lot of the plant and app stuff underneath this. Are you viewing kind of this cross-pollination or merge of the two concepts together to enable this sort of thing within plant and app? Or like what's your vision with that?
I mean, embedding this in plant app will make plant and app very, very heavy because it's a lot of logic. I can show you a bit just on the low code part how complex it is, and then we also have a lot of libraries, new code in here that does some stuff. But for example, just looking at let's pick the main assistant flow. So that's how it looks like, and then each of these, it's a different step, right? So if I go, let's say I go to, let me pick one. This one composes the system prompt. So if I go to this one, goes down and so on. So it's a large system to just deploy in PlantaNet. But what we did, we integrated in PlantaNet. So the SQL AI assistant in 127 will move to be a Bazinga AI assistant. So then you can use it from PlantaNet. Or you'll create assistant on Bazinga, which pop up as actions in PlantaNet instances, so then you can consume it and things like that. But of course, besides this, there's also some packages that probably will release soon, probably with 127, where we have integrations with different AI models. So you don't need to go through Bazinga to do something simple. Bazinga can automate a lot of stuff, knowledge, actions, ingestions from different things. But just to call AI, we have a chat action that this is for OpenAI. Just give it a connector, just give it a model, just give it a instruction, a prompt, a message, and so on, and then it will return something.
This is a new action that will be available in PlantaNet?
Yes, this will be a separate package in PlantaNet, yes.
Is it
very cool.
A purchase one or included with PlantaNet?
I think it will be a purchase one, yes. Not expensive, but affordable. And you'll see, Bazinga also, we try to make it very, very affordable. I'm not sure if any of you looked at the pricing. We just published. We are working on a new website right now, but we did publish some pricing. So it starts at $40 per month per assistant. It has a decent amount of usage embedded into it. So this is, for most companies, this is not expensive at all compared to the problem that AI solves for people. Okay.
Cool. The only other topic I had for the call today was to get some feedback and maybe if somebody wanted to see the rest of the story about the Low Code Cafe from Wednesday. But were any of you able to join the Low Code Cafe? I think Matt, you were there, weren't you?
I was, yes.
Yeah. Did you find the information helpful? Was
I
that
did.
a pattern you had thought of before or seen?
No, I hadn't. Well, no, I had thought about it, but not to the depth that you did. So it was greatly appreciated.
Excellent.
And thanks, Bogdan, for the demos. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the feedback.
We're pretty close to the hour here, so if nobody has anything else they want to take a look at, I guess we could adjourn to the afterglow segment. Go ahead and get to our final slide here and do that. Right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you, Bogdan, for all this really cool information. And we hope to see you again on the next Low Code Campfire. And until then, have a good one. And stick around if you can join us for the afterglow. Thanks, everybody.